is our very own Tom Harwood, who joins me in the studio because State of the Nation is coming up at 8 p.m. Now, can we have a little chat about our former colleague Nigel Farage?
Yes.
Because he's got into a little bit of hot water, Tom. It's not the first time this has happened, let's be honest.
Seems like a frequent occurrence.
See, so he's been accused of dog whistle politics after attacking Rishi Sunak. And this was after the whole D-Day debacle. And he basically said that he missed the later events in Normandy because he doesn't, quote, care about our culture. Now, that in itself maybe makes a suggestion or two. But I think what compounded it is it came after Lee Anderson had suggested that one of the reasons why he didn't make Omaha Beach is because he doesn't really understand the importance of the commemorations because his parents didn't serve in World War II. OK, so it's all, you're cringing a little bit, and I think it's right to. I think it's right to cringe.
I think I'm cringing at Lee Anderson's comments. However, I do think that there's an argument that what Nigel has said has been overinterpreted. Doesn't care about our culture. Now, how do you interpret the word our? Does he mean our as in all of our culture, or our as an exclusive word?
Well,
and I think that's entirely ambiguous. And sometimes you can dance on the head of a pin talking about these issues because anything that you say can be overinterpreted. I'm reminded, actually, of one of our former colleagues, Alistair Stewart. Now, when he worked at ITV and had a Twitter account, and when people sort of were silly or rude on there, he would often quote a line from Shakespeare about dancing monkeys. And he'd quote that at lots and lots of people. He once had the unfortunate incident of doing that to someone who happened to be black. And that was used as a mechanism to fire him from his job, even though he'd said the same thing to lots and lots of white people.
The intention wasn't to insult like that, but that's how it's interpreted. Mel Stride, the Work and Pensions Secretary, reacted to Farage's comments. This is in direct reaction to Farage's comments, not Anderson's, by saying they were deeply regrettable. It's an ill-advised thing to have said. I feel very uncomfortable with that. The truth of the matter is, though, is that people are quite uncomfortable with this kind of sentiment expressed as well by Anderson. It's like they've got to be careful here because there's many Tories that they attract. They'll also repel when it comes to voting on July the 4th. Right?
This is where they have to be incredibly careful because they know they're under more scrutiny than any other party. And we saw just recently a candidate for reform talking about how the UK should have been neutral in World War II. And I think that the response from reform left a lot to be desired. They said, oh, he was doing some sort of intellectual exercise about it. This guy's in an unwinnable seat. The simple, easy solution is to say, get lost.
I had this same discussion on Sunday with Richard Tice, one of the candidates that they had deselected, they've now reselected. He's tweeted some dodgy stuff. We appreciate everybody's past isn't crystal clear, but at the same time, due diligence. You know, if some people don't look like they're fit for office, don't stand them for office. Tom, thank you very much. Let's get the view from a One Nation Conservative now. I'm joined by Tobias Ellwood, the Conservative candidate and former Conservative Defence Minister. Tobias, what do you reckon? Would you welcome Nigel Farage into the party with open arms, as has been suggested by Suella Braverman?
No, not at all. I mean, there's some fundamentals here that are, I think, misunderstood. No party on the left or right wins elections when they move to the extremes, which is what is being suggested here. Jeremy Corbyn illustrated it with Labour. When our party looks united, looks focused, and governs from the centre-right, as our history shows, going back to Disraeli, Baldwin, Churchill, Thatcher as well, and indeed David Cameron, harnessing the talents from all wings of the party, light blue and dark blue, our appeal goes way beyond our party base. And we gain general support across the country and we win. And I think you just illustrated it there as well. In UK politics, 25% plus 10% does not equal 35%. Adding the poll numbers of the Conservatives and Reform does not give you a winning formula, as you'll hemorrhage votes from the middle ground. So this is also suggesting a change in ideology too. It's very, very dangerous indeed. We have now a leader that we can rally behind. He's moved us into calmer political waters. Fiscal responsibility has returned. The election is just around the corner. Let's focus on that.
Tobias, come on. He navigated you into the choppiest waters possible halfway across the channel as he was leaving Normandy early to go and do an ITV interview. What are you talking about? I mean, it's nearly sunk the campaign.
No, not at all. I think, okay, you make your points and, you know, you can smile about that. There's a bigger thing to be considered here as to, if you want to ask about Rishi Sunak's commitment to the military, he's the only leader, I understand, that's actually committed to moving to 2.5%. He's the only leader that's invested more effort in our veterans. And he's the only leader, controversial though it may be, because of pushing forward national service, that recognizes that we've entered a very dangerous era in our history, that we are going to regroup. We do need to recognize that storm clouds are gathering once again. What are we going to do about it to increase and improve our defense posture? That's what the Rishi Sunak has done. But absolutely right, I'm not taking it away. He should not have left on the second half of the day, the International Day, when originally even Joe Biden wasn't going to attend either. It was wrong. Yeah. The optics looked terrible. I'm not going to take away from that at all. Absolutely recognize that.
Tobias, you know when you talk about dark blue and light blue, I mean, who do you consider? Are you saying that you think Farage is just too dark blue for the party?
It's not just that it's dark blue. It's not just about dark blue. It's the style of what reform does and what they actually stand for. Not reform voters, because I understand, you know, some of the attraction perhaps, and certainly on migration, is why they might want to support that way. But political leadership is about winning the argument. It's about inspiring others to join your cause, not belittling your opponents at every opportunity with populist rhetoric. Conservatism is about leading the nation, not dividing it. It's about finding solutions to our challenges, not playing on the anger and blaming others. It's about promoting a strong, secure Britain that steps forward into harm's way to defend our values. It certainly is not about appeasing adversaries, as reformers suggested today, suggesting Britain would be better off, as you just described, if it had taken Hitler up on his offer of neutrality. I mean, what an insult to that generation. Let me just finish this point. Maybe this is important. What an insult to the generation that we've actually just taken our hats off and said thank you to at the 80th anniversary. Churchill must be turning in his grave. You know, I get why, as I say, people might vote to look for reform, but you now get a better understanding of what reality stands for when it comes to reform. They are a disruptive force, devoid of any serious policy, playing on anger, and any support it receives will only play into the hands of Labour.
All right, literally, we need such a short answer to this one because the weather's coming up fast. But you say all this, and yet there are a lot of people in the One Nation group that railed against Boris Johnson, criticised him. That wasn't uniting the right. And actually, he's light blue, isn't he? He's one of yours.
Yes, it was a very different circumstances that led to the breach of trust with the British people because of the lockdowns and so forth. It went through a programme, and it was eventually, I'm afraid, it went through parliamentary scrutiny, and he had to step back.
OK. Tobias, we have to leave it there. Thank you so much for your time this evening.